Ladies and gentlemen, up next on agenda we have Decoding Your Real Age, measuring biological age versus chronological age. And to cover this topic, may I invite on stage Mr. Darshit Patel. Can we have a round of applause for Mr. Darshit Patel?
All right. Good morning, guys. How are you all doing? Yeah. Did you sleep well? Yes. Yeah. Right. All right. So I want to start on a different note a bit today. Before we move on to biological aging per se. So we know that time is passing. Every day, and it's not waiting for us. We think we are chasing retirement at 50, probably playing with your grandkids at 60, and living a nice life at 70. But in reality, these deadlines are chasing us, and more voraciously. You see, somehow in the past few decades, we have set these deadlines, right? That 70 probably is the maximum time you're going to spend on this planet. That's the notion in all of our heads, right? What's more painful here is, though, that we discount the last 10 years, submitting to the fact that this will be non-functional, will be spent with a disease, and we will not be really happy about it. And these 10 years are very important to me. Why I think aging sciences is very important is because it is trying to give those 10 years back to every person possible. And that probably is the most important cause for health and wellness industry today, right? But then when we are looking at time, we really need to buy some time for our lives, for our health. But when we look at the time from a biology perspective, it is completely different from the way we look at time literally. Why so? I mean, every birthday, when you're blowing off those candles, there is not a switch in your biology which is flipping and it's making your health worse. So it's somehow not dependent on the amount of years you're spending on this planet at all. It's something else is going on. The biology has its own dimension of time, right? I mean, who all have seen Interstellar here? Have you all watched Interstellar? Yeah, do you remember the time when Matthew McConaughey goes to a different galaxy, different planet, and then he loses vital Earth years, right? That's what's happening. We are looking at age from the number of years we are spending, and we are losing vital biological years while doing so. We're not looking at it from that perspective. Today, my job is to take you through this different dimension of time that is called biological aging. And before we start that, actually, I want you all to use a very primitive AI that you all have and you don't know. And that is the first biological age ever invented. So that, let's do some exercise, let's do some guesswork. Who's older? That one? Yeah. So you all have an intricate biological age within you, right? Who's older?
The left.
The lady on the left, right? What we are seeing here is a different kind of AI. Same ethnicity, pretty much coming from the same part of the world, and your brain could really recognize which is older and which is not. Different ethnicities, but your AI is still trained to understand what's older or not. Can we make it a bit tougher? Who's older?
Left.
Left? Right, we would never really know because these are stock photos. Right. But yeah, it gets a bit difficult, in the modern day times when you see your friends, your family, someone you have not been in touch with for the past 10 years and you meet them suddenly. And suddenly you're like, अरे यार तू तो बूढ़ा दिख रहा है पहले से या तू तो जवान दिख रहा है, right? So there is something else going around in our biology which is deciding our age. And that's what we are trying to talk about here. The number of years spent on the planet is your chronological age. It makes absolutely zero sense when you're talking about health. But what's important is the biological age. It pretty much tells you where your biology is in its terms of deterioration, because aging is all about deterioration. Our job is to slow it down. I don't know reversing is really possible or not as of today, but then to slowing it down. Also, if something has to be reversed going ahead in the future, it has to have a different kind of measurement. I cannot celebrate my 24th birthday next year, but I can look to reverse my biological age. So biological age is something that is malleable, reversible compared to your chronological age. So we are going to be looking at some tools which science has in the modern day to really track your biological age. So I mean, the first and the most popular and probably something you have heard in the past 24 hours or so is the epigenetics way. of tracking your biological age. Pretty much everyone is talking about Dr. Howard, who was one of the first people to work on this, developed statistical mathematical models to, come down to a correlation between your epigenetics and your aging. Now, what is epigenetics, right? I think there's an explanation that has been going around there, and it's pretty much right. Genetics is what you're born with. Epigenetics is what you're doing with your genes. Putting quite simply at that, right? Now, everything that we do, the air we breathe, the food we eat, is somehow contributing to this epigenetic modifications, right? One of the epigenetic modification which is used to track your biological aging is DNA methylation. What DNA we all know by now, methylation is adding a methyl molecule to it. So now, how does this actually happen in your cells, right? Now, epigenetics is not just the bad things doing bad things to your body, but even good things doing good things to your body. For example, let's say you're taking one of these unhealthy habits, probably going in a radiation zone, smoking, eating junk food all the time, gluten, carbohydrates. These are going to generate some kind of methyl molecules through a very complex metabolism. Let's not go there. But they're going to generate methyl molecules which are going to get stuck to your genes. Now you have genes which can protect you. Also, you have genes that might not protect you and do something deteriorating to your body. Now, if you're taking a bad lifestyle choice, it will switch off the good genes and it will switch on the bad genes. But if you're making a good lifestyle choice, it will switch on the good genes and switch off the bad genes. That's putting as simply as what epigenetics is. Simply, right now, in the science, it's not so much, right? And we have seen that there are some problems with this particular clock. I mean, first of all, it's not actionable. I don't know how many of you have seen an epigenetics report per se, but then you get a number for your biological age. Let's say I'm 35 and my biological age is 30. Or let's say 40. Let's take a worse example. My biological age is 40. But then what do I do about it? How can I change it? We don't have an intervention which specifically tells us that doing this exercise is going to reverse this part of your DNA methylation. Doing this exercise is going to worsen this part of your epigenetics. We don't have proper interventions at that. So it's just giving you a baseline. Probably whatever lifestyle habits that you're continuously changing every day might reflect or might not reflect in your epigenetics, but then there's a problem there. You can't keep testing your epigenetics, especially in India, because it's around 20-25K per test, right? So my problems with epigenetic clock, the ones which I've faced in the past 1.5 years, is the actionability is very low, right? I mean, Dr. Samatha or Dr. Vishalam here would be able to tell you, they can't suggest the right interventions if you want to reverse your epigenetic age. But the accessibility is low. Again, we want more people in India to get access to longevity, and selling a test at 25,000 doesn't make sense, right? Because India is not that kind of a market. Finally, there's a high heterogeneity. So what I did was, I took my sample and sent it to 6 different places. The same sample collected at the same time, sent it to 6 different places. My biological age ranged from 32 to 38. Now, you tell me, what do I believe in, right? So that's the problem with this. There's a high heterogeneity in the kinds of epigenetics age you take. So if you decide to take an epigenetic stage, please make sure that you're sticking to one partner. Only then you'll be able to track your baseline. Otherwise, all technologies will give you different results.
Don't we believe the chronological age if they're giving a range?
But then we already saw the problem with that, right? Chronological age. We can't really tell anything about your health from your chronological age. You'll have to have some tool to see what is a biological age, or how rapidly you are aging in terms of your biology, right?
But if different systems are giving you different results, how do you know which is the correct system?
No, there is absolutely zero consensus over it. The idea is that if you are sticking to one tool and consistently using it, right, then you will have a proper baseline. You cannot take your epigenetics age test today from company A, tomorrow from company B, and day after tomorrow from company C. That's a problem. If you're sticking to company A, stick to it, because the technology doesn't change. They have standardized their protocols, so you'll get a proper understanding of your age. But then that's not something that you can put your blind faith into. Now, there were problems with epigenetics age. The future is bright. I think in the next 5 years, we are going to come up with amazing epigenetic age testing tools. Today, it might not be the best choice for you. So then what's the best choice? Blood. Blood is your perennial river of answers in your body. Goes to every part of your body except brain because there's a blood-brain barrier. But then there are some 41 markers in your body which are somehow correlated to your aging. And there are advanced models, data analytics used to give weightage to each one of these. These are your regular kidney markers, your liver markers, your RBC counts, your WBC counts, and probably a couple of tumor blood tests, right? So these are some collection of 41 markers which when put in a single engine can give you a prediction of your biological age. And the error rate here is not plus minus 5 years. The error rate here is plus minus 0.5 years. Now that's something you can back yourself up. Also, it's cheaper. You can get your blood test of 41 markers in 5.5K, and you can regularly track it. Epigenetics you can do once in a year. There is no tracking of small habits. With blood test, you can track your small habits. Secondly, it can tell you which marker is contributing to accelerated aging and which marker is contributing to slower aging. That means your healthcare professionals, your doctors, your health coaches, or even if you are health intelligent, then you can actually look at what markers do I have to work with over a period of time to make sure my biological age comes back to at least my chronological age or even go beyond or behind that.
Is the
So,
body fluid used for epigenetic testing?
different ways to do it. Some people do it with saliva, some people do it with blood. I hope I had an answer for that. Just like Dr. Biren said, if we know that, we'll get a Nobel Prize around that. So now, this is what has been done so far in terms of epigenetics, blood age. You know, a lot of centers in the world are using this as the standard. What we are trying to develop is something around microbiome, right? I love microbiome. I am absolute fan of microbiome because I think, I don't know how many of you were there in Dr. Samada's talk yesterday, and she placed a weightage that at least 20-30% of your aging is controlled by microbiome. Also, it's the most malleable thing, you know. You take a good meal today and you're changing your microbiome by at least 10 to 15% by the end of the day, right? Although 30-40% of your microbiome is stable over different age periods, there is a change that happens on an everyday basis. And it's very important that we start looking at microbiomes. What we do is, I mean, this is a question I've been asking myself for the past couple of years. I hope you all can answer for me if you can. So my question is, we know hallmarks of aging have been discussed in one of the talks in this conference, and there are 14. And microbial dysbiosis, which is the microbiome dysbiosis, one of the hallmarks. I don't believe it is one of the hallmarks. I believe it is one of the causes to all the hallmarks, right? As far as I have studied microbiome, there are microbial metabolites which contribute to DNA damage, to telomere damage, like paracresol, catechin, and all that. There are microbial factors which would cause metabolic disorders. TMA, TMOA have been known to go to to cause cardiovascular issues. There are chronic kidney diseases, chronic liver diseases are driven by indole-based metabolites of the microbiome. So there's a lot of correlation there. And we are trying to put all that into a single algorithm to develop a microbiome-based aging clock as well. Work in progress, probably 2 years far away, but still I think this would be one of the most complex biological ages to make, yet it will give you a very nice idea. We all have been saying that everything starts in your gut, so biological aging should be also starting from your gut. That's my hypothesis. Let's see where we end up with it. Yeah, so I was just talking about this. There's a lot of things that happen in your intestine and microbiome which contribute to aging, and there's a lot of things that the biology of aging does to the microbiome as well. So it's an interchangeable relationship that we are looking at, and hopefully we'll have a lot of answers around that. As of today, what we actually do is we test the microbiome. We don't really tell you about your biological age based on that, but we can track a lot of markers which can actually contribute to biological aging. For example, gluten, lactose-based inflammation, short-chain fatty acids. There was a study where centenarians, I mean people who live 100 years and above, who were healthy with no diseases, had a high amount of SCFA production. So we can tell you about SCFA production, which is also contributing to anti-inflammatory conditions in your gut. Your leaky gut, which is probably allowing the bacterial metabolites to pass to the blood and to the different organs. There's this new gut-brain connection that everyone is talking about on LinkedIn probably. It's nothing new in the science. It has been there around. There are GABA producers. More than 40% of the body's serotonin is produced by the gut-based metabolites. So all these things are coming up in the microbiome data, and I hope people come up with new technologies to look at this. For example, what we have done is we have chucked away the traditional way of doing it, which is the 16S, looking at a list of probiotics and pathogens. We look at metabolites. What is your gut producing, right? Because those metabolites are affecting your health. The same bacteria, right? Bacteria A, bacteria B, these are both same bacteria, but they have different genetic makeup. And that's very important because genes make metabolites. Bacteria A and bacteria B, same name, different metabolites, different actions. So there's no point in looking at probiotics, pathogens anymore. Pathogens, yes. Probiotics, I'm not really sure of, because certain species are probiotics in some gut condition, while in the other they are not. So I think it's really important to look at the microbiome data, and we need to understand it better to use it into our practice before we just go around and do testing everywhere. Right? So that is something probably we are trying to solve as well. Now, again, a small game. So these are some cases. A couple of them are from Decoding Age, and one of them is not from Decoding Age, and you will know when you see the photos, right? So here, one of the visible signs of what reversing biological age looks like. So this lady, she came to us around 2 years back, and she has been on a protocol for 18 months. You can see some visible effects, like the hair graying has reduced over time on the left, but you'll see a lot of effect on their markers like hypertension and HbA1c and fasting blood sugars and everything. So this is a very beginner level of 18 months of working on your biological age. The next photo, one of my close friends, right? This is Rakesh at 32 years age, right? This is Rakesh at 32 years age. That is Rakesh at 37 years of age finishing his third Ironman race. So that's what biological age reversal looks like on an intermediate level, right? That in 5 years you can reverse your biological age. When he was here, his biological age was 42. When he's here, his biological age is around 32. And he is almost 37 years old there. So that's what reversal of biological age could look like at an intermediate level, probably for all of us, right? The name that everyone is talking about in longevity these days is an expert, probably more. I don't know if he has surpassed expert or not. This man is Brian Johnson. This is him at 40 years old. That is him at 50 years old chronologically. This is him at biological age of around 45. That is him at biological age of around 18. That's Brian Johnson. And he takes 150 supplements a day. He takes blood transfusion from his son. He gives his blood to his dad. And he would try gene therapies, and he would sleep all at the same time. He wouldn't travel for more than 2 time zones. And everything he does is to basically reverse his biological age. I'm not saying we should all be doing this, because it's a very rigorous lifestyle. Unless you have a lot of money in the bank, because he's spending around 10 CR a year, then you can do that. And if you don't love your friends, probably do this. But then this is how I see it, is as an inspiration that one man has provided, that when you take it to the extremes, you can achieve the extremes. But then whatever level you want to set before that, you can set and incrementally work towards it. No one has to leave their current lifestyle and get into this. But then the small incremental habits can help you achieve that reversal of biological age. And I mean, the true goal is, again, what I started with. Take back those 10 years that the modern lifestyle has taken from you in the last decade of your life. Take it back, and then you'll see the real effect. Increase your health span, your lifespan would probably not matter to you anymore. Right? That's about it from my side.
In the picture on the right, in spite of everything that he's doing, he does look like he's aged, but he's aged well. That's the only thing.
Exactly. I mean, you look at his markers, right? That's what everyone is talking about. The markers. The markers are amazing. Him at that age.